I remember as me and this girl were literally living together. Out of nowhere, she looks over at me and says, honestly, Baba, I don't see you doing anything with your future. Maybe you should just get out. Wait, what do you mean get out? I don't know. Just go stay anywhere but here. Like, at this point, just go sleep on the street. And at that moment, I realized I became homeless. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to a super embarrassing but a story that I'll never forget. Now, this story all starts off back in my grade 12 year. Now, in grade 12, after graduation, I really did not know what I was going to do with my life. If I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know that I was going to become a creator online. I didn't know if I was going to join the military. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. If anything, my whole life was just in shambles. And honestly, like, I didn't want to go back to school because, well, honestly, I was never good at school in the first place. But I remember one day when I was chilling at my parents' house, my parents always would, basically tell me how I should get my future set up and figure out what I want to do. My father always wanted me to join the military. As for my mom, well, she just wanted me to be happy. Love you, Mom, by the way, if you're watching this video. But anyways, I remember one time I ended up going out with a couple friends, and these friends were all like basically going back to school and stuff. They're all going to university and college. And I remember one of them, when we were all hanging out, ended up looking at me saying, yo, so Bubba, what are you planning on doing, bro? Like, are you just gonna work this entire year? Yeah, once I get a job, I might just start working or something. What? You don't even work a job now? I thought you were working at the restaurant. No, I left for reasons. I didn't want to tell them that I did the Devil's Tango with the manager, because obviously it's none of their business. But if you guys want to hear about that story, I already told it on the channel. But going on, I remember it got really awkward, and it got to one point where one of my friends ended up saying, yo, there's a party happening literally tonight, actually. Do you guys want to all go to that? And we all agreed to go to this party. Now, I think me just graduating high school at that time, going to parties was like the only type of like thing I recognized doing, because back when I was in high school, I've been to a ton of different parties. And I remember me and my friends, we all ended up getting inside my car, and we ended up basically heading back to our places and getting dressed. And as we were getting ready, once again, my friend comes up beside me and starts telling me, yo, so Bubba, like, do you actually know what you want to do with yourself in the future? Like, seriously, man, like, it's kind of scary, don't you think? And at the same time, as much as I didn't want to admit it, he was right. But obviously I wasn't going to admit that because, I'm a guy. I don't like showing that I'm a loser in any sorts. So I ended up telling him, I don't know, man, I'll figure it out when it comes to it. Just don't worry about it. And after a while, after everything was going great, we all ended up getting ready, went back into my car, and we started going to this party. Now, we ended up going to this party around half an hour later when the party was actually supposed to start, because no one should arrive to a party super early, or exactly the time when it starts, because you don't want to be the first people there. It was something I learned back in high school to always, like, make a good first impression, and showing off and introducing yourself to a crowd is easier than, a bunch of, like, small amounts of people. But anyways, going on with the story, I remember when me and my friends got there, we ended up walking into the party, we ended up meeting a lot of people, and then that's when I laid my eyes on this one girl. Now, there was a girl at this party that was really phenomenal. Like, no joke, she was wearing a sparkly dress, she looked fantastic, blonde hair, blue eyes, like, she had everything, bro. And I remember she was, like, exactly my type. Well, at least at the time. Nowadays, I'm actually into redheads. But going on, I remember I ended up looking at her, and I couldn't believe my eyes. And I ended up walking up to her, but before I could walk up to her, my buddy that was telling me about my future and how I should get things together ended up walking up to her first. He walks up to her and says, hey, like, how's it going? How you doing? Good. What do you want? Oh, nothing. So, you in school? No, I'm part of my dad's business. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I'm in school for law, trying to become a big lawyer. Hey, maybe I could take care of you one day and, help you with some cases, if you know what I mean. At this moment, I could totally see on this girl's face that she got the total ick. Like, she was in no way interested to my friend after he made that weird comment. And right as I was standing there kind of laughing, she ended up seeing me laugh and looks at me and says, oh, I'm happy I'm not the only one that finds it funny. At that moment, my friend looks at me and just kind of like steams away, really upset at me. And the girl that saw me laughing ended up walking up to me. She walks up to me and says, so what do you do? Huh? Me? Oh, nothing yet. Just graduated, just trying to figure it out, I guess. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So like, what do you like doing? Me and this girl, we ended up getting into like some crazy conversations about life and how like, I don't know what I want to be and how like, I start stressing out about it once in a while. I was basically being open and honest about my life to her. And she really respected that for some reason. And while me and her, I remember towards the end of the party when everyone was leaving, me and her, we ended up walking out to my car and she said, oh, well, Bubba, I really had a great time tonight. Do you want to like maybe like go out for dinner? Yeah, sure, no problem. I wouldn't mind that. Okay, cool. Here, wait, give me your arm. I ended up giving her my arm, not knowing why, but then she ended up putting down her number on my wrist. And at that moment, I realized that this girl was actually kind of amazing. And when I got inside my car and she walked away, I remember my buddy that was sitting in the back seat that originally went to go hit her up ended up looking at me saying, Bubba, for a guy who doesn't know what in the world he's doing, there's one thing you do know how to do, and that's pull girls. Like, I don't get it. And then from there, I ended up just basically shaking my head, and we ended up driving and dropping them off at their places. When I finally dropped everyone off, I ended up putting this girl's number on my phone, and I ended up texting this girl saying, hey, had a great time tonight. It was nice hanging out with you. And she replied back instantly. At that moment, me and her, we ended up texting almost all night. And well, the next day when me and her finally went on a date, I'll say it was one of the most craziest things ever. Because I remember me and her, when we were going out on this date, I ended up picking her up. And when I went to the front of her house, oh my goodness, she lived in like a mansion. Like, no joke, I don't know what her daddy did for work, but it was definitely taking care of the family pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of even jealous, which is kind of insane. But going on, I remember this girl ends up getting inside my car, and me and her, we ended up basically going around driving. When she saw my car, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't drive the craziest car. I ended up just driving my Toyota Celica GT, which, I mean, I posted on my IG before if you guys want to go follow it. But it was my first car, and I loved it to death. To this day, I still love it. But as for this girl, well, she surprisingly didn't mind it. She ended up telling me how, like, it's a good first car and everything. And I'm not gonna lie to you, you can kind of, like, sense the ego on her for having so much money in her life. But she always made, like, nice, humble comments once in a while that kind of made up for it. Now, this is where things kind of get weird, because I remember as we were driving around still, and after the whole conversation about, you know, me and my first car, she looks at me and says, oh, so Bubba, where do you want to eat? I don't know, anywhere's good. What do you feel like? Honestly, we should go to this amazing sushi place if you're down. Yeah, I love sushi, is what I told her. And me and her, we ended up going to this sushi place that was like really expensive. Like, no joke, when you like search it up on the internet, it literally has like $3 signs beside it showing that it was one of the most expensive places to go to when you want to go eat something. So I kind of started to worry, and I remember once we finally got there and we entered inside the restaurant, I ended up ordering one of the cheapest things on the menu just because I didn't want to order too much and basically not be able to pay the bill. Because like I said, I wasn't really rich at that time because I didn't really know what I was doing with my life yet. Anyways, I remember we ended up ordering food, and she realized that I ordered less food, so she ended up ordering more food for herself, which kind of made me panic. And well, I remember right after we finished eating and she ended up like, you know, telling me about her life and stuff and how her family owns a big giant business, the bill finally came. I remember the waiter ended up basically putting the bill right in front of me since I was the guy sitting at the table on our date. And no joke, when I saw the bill, it was over $100. Now at this time, like I said, I was not in any way able to pay that. I was barely making it by paying my car payments. So I remember when I looked at the bill, I started to kind of worry. And that's when this girl ended up taking the bill. She ended up walking up to the front counter and she paid it herself. At this moment, I really started to like this girl. It's like she didn't really care about money. She just wanted to be happy. And so did I. So I remember me and her, we ended up dating like full on. We would go on dates together. We would go out together a lot. And honestly, like things were going great. But then 3 months into our relationship, things got a little weird. Because I remember 3 months in, I was one time sitting at home and I still didn't have a job yet, nothing. At this time, the girl that I was seeing was still paying for everything for me. And that's when I ended up basically started making job resumes to basically at least go get a job and do something. Like every man should be able to make his own form of income. There should be no guy with no responsibility and not have a job. So I remember I ended up basically writing up a bunch of resumes, and that's when my girlfriend ended up coming to my house. She came to my house with her fancy sports car that her dad bought her for grad, and I remember she ended up basically knocking at my door saying, Baba, I have a surprise for you. Open the door. I remember I ended up opening the door and I went out to my front porch and I told her, what's the surprise? And at that moment, she ended up giving me a box. Now this box, I had really no idea what was in it. I was actually kind of scared it was a ring and that she was going to ask me to marry her, because who gets married in 3 months into the relationship? But I remember when I opened the box, I saw it was a pair of keys. Now at first I thought the keys were, you know, just some basic car. You know what I mean? But then when I looked at the driveway, I only saw her car. So then I thought, okay, maybe she's giving me her sports car, which I mean, I won't complain. But then I realized when I actually picked up the keys, she says, Baba, do you want to live with me? At that moment, I was kind of scared. I didn't know what to say. Like, she wants me to live with her? Like, what? We're 3 months into our relationship. Is that enough time to even like move in with someone? And I remember I picked up the keys and I just said yes. I don't know why. I guess like the whole like thought process of like my friend always telling me that like I have really nothing going on with my life and future really got to me. And I guess like, you know, this was the one time where I thought this girl can maybe change my life, which was a big mistake, by the way. Never choose a girl to change your life. You should be able to change your life on your own. But I learned that the hard way, because I remember I ended up moving in with her literally the next week. And my parents the entire time were telling me, Baba, you don't know this girl well enough. Baba, you need to stay with us. We're here for you. Baba, don't leave. If you leave this house, you're not coming back. And right as my parents gave me that final warning, I said whatever. I ended up moving in with this girl. She ended up getting a whole new apartment that her parents got her. And well, we ended up basically living together. Things were going great for the first month of me moving in with her. But then things got a lot worse, because I remember it got to the point point where I was just at home, and every day she would go out and work at her family's business and come back. And I guess over time, she got really sick of me just staying at home, not working, not doing anything, because the only thing I was good at was playing video games. And well, we got into a massive argument. I remember one night she came home and she saw that there were like dishes on my desk that I was playing video games on, and she yelled and said, "Baba, do you want to do anything with yourself? Like, seriously, like, do you ever have a plan for your future?" At that moment, I looked at her and I told her, like, "No, I'm just the same guy as before. I don't really know what I want to do." And she started being more mean and aggressive and started yelling more and more and more at me, to the point where I started to kind of feel guilty for how much she supports me. And it got to the point where I told her, honestly, like, "I don't know what you want me to do. I want you to get out. Like, honestly, just leave. Like, I don't think you're able to live here anymore." At that moment, I looked at her and I'm like, "You want me just to leave?" "Yeah, just get out, Baba. Like, just leave. You literally have nothing going with you. You have no future, nothing. Like, you're gonna be useless for the rest of your life." At that moment, I was heartbroken. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. Don't get me wrong, we did a lot of the devil's tango when we lived together, but over time, things started drifting apart. Since she told me to leave, well, that's exactly what I did. I packed my one suitcase I had with all my clothes in it that she got me, and I ended up leaving. I moved out, and I ended up not having a place to go. I was gonna call my friends from high school, but all of them were busy with school and college, and none of them were able to basically just get me. So what I ended up doing was I ended up staying at a local park that was nearby, and I was homeless. I stayed homeless for one entire night, and I remember the whole night I had like less than 20% on my phone battery, and I was just really upset and mad about how my life was going. And then something insane happened where one of my friends from back when I was in high school, the one that originally hit on her in the first place, the one in the very beginning of the story, he ended up seeing me on the corner of the street at the park, and he opened the passenger door saying, "Baba, get inside. What are you doing on the street, bro?" And that's when I got in and I told him the whole story. And that's when he told me, "Baba, you're smarter than you look, man. My opinion, use your gifts you got and make something of yourself." And well, I guess in the future I did. And I never let a girl carry me through life. And I did things my own way. If you guys think you guys learned something from the story, then just follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.